Tonight, we confront a question that once seemed unthinkable, a question that strikes at the very heart of our identity as Americans. Could America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, face another civil war? It sounds like dystopian fiction, a far-fetched scenario, but the signs, both subtle and overt, are all around us, demanding our attention. The divisions in our society are no longer subtle disagreements or healthy debates. They're deep, seemingly unbridgeable chasms that threaten to swallow us whole. Anger and distrust are everywhere. A pervasive sense of unease hangs in the air. In politics, where compromise seems like a forgotten art, on our streets, where protests and demonstrations have become almost commonplace, even within families, where political differences constrain the strongest bonds. This isn't just about policy disagreements anymore, about differing opinions on taxes or healthcare. It's about questioning the legitimacy of the other side, viewing them as enemies rather than fellow citizens, and losing faith in our core institutions. The fabric of our nation is fraying, thread by thread, weakening the whole. We've weathered storms before, navigated crises and overcome challenges, but this time feels different, more insidious. Social media and cable news push us into echo chambers, reinforcing our biases and limiting our exposure to different perspectives, fueling outrage, amplifying extreme voices, and breeding suspicion of anyone who doesn't think like us. Foreign adversaries exploit our divisions, pouring fuel on the fire, making things demonstrably worse. The common ground where we once met, the shared values and beliefs that united us, is shrinking, disappearing before our eyes. Now it's about whether we still share the fundamental values that hold us together as a nation, whether we can find common purpose. We must face this uncomfortable reality head-on without flinching, without turning away. Is this just sensationalist fear-mongering, an overblown narrative, or are we truly on a dangerous path, hurtling towards a precipice? Tonight, we'll meticulously examine the evidence, separating fact from fiction, talk to leading experts in history, political science, and sociology, and look for the real, tangible signs of a nation in distress, indicators that go beyond partisan rhetoric. This is a hard conversation, a difficult discussion to have, but a necessary one if we hope to preserve our union. Because the first, and perhaps most crucial, step to solving any problem, no matter how daunting, is admitting it exists, acknowledging its presence. The unthinkable, the idea of a divided America, is now being openly thought, discussed, and even for some considered a possibility. The rhetoric we hear daily from politicians, pundits, and even our own neighbors suggests a story of two Americas, increasingly polarized, living in separate realities with different sets of facts, different values, and different visions for the future. The question is no longer simply about political disagreement or ideological differences. It's about our very survival as a unified nation, as one people. We need to understand the complex forces driving us apart, the factors contributing to this growing sense of division and animosity. Are we, as some fear, on a path to widespread political violence, to escalating conflict and potential civil unrest? Could the United States, the oldest constitutional republic in the world, truly come undone, fractured beyond repair? We're here to explore that unsettling possibility, to examine the evidence and draw our own conclusions. Let's begin this crucial exploration. Professor Benjamin Cohen, a distinguished political scientist and academic researcher, presents a thought-provoking, albeit unsettling, forecast for the future of the United States. His prediction, set against the backdrop of increasing political polarization, suggests that by the year 2035, California, a state known for its progressive policies and innovative spirit, could potentially vote to secede from the Union, charting its own course as an independent entity. California, the world's fifth-largest economy, a powerhouse of innovation and technological advancement, a state whose economic influence extends far beyond its borders, home to nearly 40 million people, a diverse and vibrant population that contributes significantly to the nation's cultural and economic landscape, going its own way, potentially triggering a cascade of unforeseen consequences. It sounds far-fetched, a scenario ripped from the pages of a dystopian novel, but Cohen's prediction is not based on mere speculation. His scenario is rooted in real, observable trends, meticulously analyzed data, and a deep understanding of the evolving political landscape. The divides between California and the rest of the country are growing, becoming increasingly pronounced and seemingly insurmountable, fueled by differing ideologies and priorities. On climate, guns, immigration, and social values, creating a chasm that threatens to undermine the very foundation of the Union. Imagine a future where federal laws directly challenge California's way of life, its values, and its commitment to progressive policies, creating a climate of resentment and resistance. Cohen predicts a tipping point, a moment of reckoning where the tensions reach a critical mass. Californians feeling unrepresented and disrespected by the federal government, their voices ignored, their concerns dismissed, leading to a widespread sense of alienation and disenfranchisement. What happens next? What course of action will California take in the face of such adversity? The federal government would likely declare secession illegal, an act of rebellion against the established order, a violation of the Constitution, impose sanctions, crippling the state's economy, and maybe even federalize the National Guard, deploying troops to enforce federal law and maintain order. Suddenly you have a standoff, a tense and volatile situation with potentially devastating consequences. A state government backed by its people versus federal power, a clash of ideologies and a battle for the soul of the nation. It's a recipe for disaster, a conflict that could spiral out of control, leading to widespread civil unrest and potentially even armed conflict. Cohen's warning isn't just about California, it's a broader commentary on the state of the nation. He calls it the Great Divergence. Other states or regions could follow, emboldened by California's example and driven by their own unique grievances. Imagine a Pacific Republic, a coalition of like-minded states along the West Coast, or a block of conservative states forming their own alliance, united by shared values and a common vision for the future. His 2035 scenario is a dramatic illustration of where our current path could lead, a stark reminder of the potential consequences of our inaction. It forces us to confront how fragile our national bonds really are, how easily they can be broken by political polarization and ideological division. The prophecy is on the table. Are we listening? Are we paying attention to the warning signs? The scenario is not science fiction. It's a warning, a call to action, a plea for unity. The divides are real and growing, threatening to tear the fabric of our nation apart. If we don't change course, the unthinkable could become reality, and the United States as we know it could cease to exist. The question is, will we act before it's too late? Will we bridge the divides and restore unity before the clock runs out? Cohen's scenario is a wake-up call, a stark reminder of the challenges we face and the urgent need for action. The future of the Union is not guaranteed. It depends on our willingness to address the divisions that threaten to tear us apart. The time to address these divisions is now, before they become irreparable and the consequences become irreversible. The stakes could not be higher. Are we prepared to face them? Are we ready to work together to preserve the Union and secure a brighter future for all? How did we reach this point, where our nation feels so fractured and ideologies clash so fiercely? Our polarization didn't happen overnight. It's been a gradual process, a slow burn that's intensified over decades. It's a complex web of factors that have led us to where we are today. Decades ago, Americans shared news, culture, and a sense of unity, a collective experience that bound us together. We had common ground, shared values, and a shared understanding of the world around us. That foundation has crumbled, weakened by various forces that have chipped away at our common bonds. The media landscape fractured, splintering into countless channels and platforms, each catering to different viewpoints. This fragmentation is letting us choose our own realities, reinforcing our existing beliefs and isolating us from opposing perspectives. Politicians learned that fear and anger win elections, exploiting our divisions for political gain. Gerrymandering and safe districts pushed leaders to extremes, creating an environment where compromise is seen as weakness. The language of politics became warfare, not persuasion, with each side demonizing the other. Social media supercharged outrage, amplifying extreme voices and creating a culture of online shaming. It's sorting us into digital tribes, reinforcing our biases and limiting our exposure to diverse viewpoints. Misinformation eroded trust in institutions and each other, making it harder to discern fact from fiction. We're now sorted geographically, economically, and culturally, further isolating ourselves from those with different backgrounds. This sorting happens even at the neighborhood level, creating echo chambers within our own communities. Everyday interactions with those unlike us are disappearing, replaced by interactions with those who share our views. Without them, suspicion and stereotypes fill the void, fueling prejudice and animosity. We've become strangers in the same country, disconnected from one another and unable to understand each other's perspectives. We are living in different worlds, with different sets of facts and different values. This is the anatomy of the Great Divide, a chasm that separates us from one another. The question is, can we bridge it? And if so, how do we begin to build those connections again? Civil war talk isn't just academic polls show real fear. Over 40% of Americans believe a civil war is at least somewhat likely in the next decade. This isn't a fringe belief, it's mainstream. Many are open to undemocratic alternatives, even strongman rule. Faith in democracy is eroding, replaced by desperation for solutions. When trust in institutions collapses, instability follows. The social contract, the agreement to play by the rules, is fraying. Fear becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, fueling cycles of escalation. Each side sees the other as an existential threat. This is how societies spiral into conflict. The fear itself is the fuel. Millions now see neighbors as potential enemies. The danger is real and growing. Secession is a powerful idea, but the reality is far from simple. Legally, the Supreme Court ruled the Union is perpetual. States can't just leave. Gaining consent from other states is a political fantasy. Even if legal hurdles were cleared, practical challenges would be immense. Who controls military bases, airspace, or the national debt? What about those who oppose secession? Do they become refugees in their own land? Secession would spark new conflicts, not solve old ones. The illusion of a peaceful break is just that, an illusion. The Civil War already answered this question. The answer was no. The path to tearing the Union apart is chaos, not clarity. Rising tension isn't just theoretical, it's playing out in our streets. Protests escalate into riots, clashes between opposing groups turn deadly. The Capitol riot on January 6th was a stark warning. These aren't isolated incidents, they're symptoms of a deeper sickness. When people lose faith in the system, the streets become battlegrounds. Extremist groups on both sides use violence to achieve political ends. Government crackdowns often inflame tensions further. The cycle of unrest and repression is hard to break. The line between rhetoric and violence is dangerously thin. The anger is spilling into the real world. Our social fabric is tearing. The battleground is no longer just the ballot box, it's the city square. Identity politics now defines us more than ever. Political affiliation has become our core identity, shaping where we live, who we befriend, even who we date. This tribalism turns opponents into enemies. Compromise becomes impossible when the other side is seen as evil. Every aspect of life reinforces this divide. We retreat into echo chambers, losing empathy for those who disagree. The stakes of every election feel existential. Politics becomes a war between identities, not ideas. The danger is that this mindset shortens the path to violence. When politics is about survival, every loss feels catastrophic. We stop seeing each other as fellow Americans. The US versus them mentality is the psychological fuel for conflict. Lincoln warned, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." Today, our divisions threaten not just civil war, but the slow erosion of democracy. Political gridlock, collapsing trust, and rising extremism are already here. A society can't function without trust and shared reality. Ignoring these cracks is a dangerous choice. History shows democracies can fail. The bonds holding us together must be maintained, or they'll break. Normalizing anger and division is perilous. We're becoming numb to crisis and violence. It's like living with a gas leak. One spark could be catastrophic. We must wake up to the danger before it's too late. We stand at a crossroads. The path ahead is dark but not inevitable. Professor Cohen's scenario is a warning, not a prophecy. The real question, what will we do about it? It will take political courage, civic virtue, and leaders who put country over party. Media must rethink their role in fueling outrage. Citizens must break out of echo chambers and rediscover shared values. Unity doesn't mean agreement, but respect for the rules and each other. We must rebuild trust from the ground up. The divisions are deep, but not